Nile is back with their latest offering, The Underworld Awaits Us All, an album once again steeped with references to Egyptian mythology and H.p. Lovecraft. How can I not love this band? Technically a death metal band, Nile has been... Whoa! They're a technical death metal band. That's what I said, they're technically a death metal. No, you said they were technically a death metal band. That's not the case. They're a technically a death band. No, listen, ears I use for listen. Yeah, that's great, but what I'm saying is they're a technical death metal band due to the intricacy and precision of their music. Ears listen to music as well. Just have a think before what you say next, we've got plenty of time. Blancmange. Okay, blancmange is a word. It is a word. I'll even grant you that it's a nice word. It's not one that you often hear much these days, but it's not really relevant to this. As he passed his forklift driver's test, he gives the test. That's an Office reference. Again, not really relevant here. Yeah, against karate. Oi, wait. Whoa. Well, you wanted him back doing reviews? On your head be it. Nile, The Underworld Awaits Us All. Intro riff. I ain't paying for a subscription epidemic sound. I'm not recording it properly either. The fuck was that? Okay, so here we are, finally, my first proper review in a very, very long time. And yeah, before I get into this, I just want to point out that on my album ranking, my tier list for the Nile discography, I mentioned in the description how this album was being released via Nuclear Blast Records. Well, somebody from Napalm Records actually emailed me, Jordan, and asked me to correct that and say that it was actually Napalm Records it was being released on. So I'm going to make sure that you all know that in this video. You asked for it, Jordan, you got it. So, Nile is a technical death metal band that were formed in 1993 in Greenville, South Carolina. This is the band's first album in almost 5 years, following on from Vile Nilotic Rites, which was released way back in 2019. And the lineup for this album consists of Karl Sanders on vocals and guitar, of course, the mastermind behind the band, George Callias on drums, an absolutely phenomenally talented drummer who's been with the band for quite a while now. We also have Brian Kingsland on guitar and vocals, Zach Jeter on guitar, and Dan Vadim Von on bass. The album was produced and recorded at Sanders' own Serpent-Headed Studios and was mixed and mastered by Mark Lewis. Before we get into the tracks, it's worth mentioning the amazing artwork on this album, which was created by Michael Larank and references the cycle of life and the judgment that is faced at the end of it. Pretty heavy shit. And this is their first album to be released via Napalm Records. First track is Stelae of Vultures, released by Napalm Records. This one starts with an ominous, doom-laden riff before exploding into all-out brutality and truly sets the tone for the rest of the album. Now, there's been a few prior albums that had a bit of a problem with the mix, but I'm happy to say this one sounds absolutely fantastic, which is essential for a band like Nile because they're so precise. You really need to hear all those frequencies and everything that's going on. So they've done a great job on that. The guitars are intense, the vocals are demonic, and the drumming is just a highlight of this album. We'll probably talk a lot about that throughout this. George Callias is incredible. Fantastic start to the album. Napalm Records did a great job with this. Next up we have Chapter for Not Being Hung Upside Down on a Stake in the Underworld and Made to Eat Feces by the 4 Apes. It even took me a few takes to do that reading off the phone, let alone memorising it. So Karl Sanders got the idea from this the same way he gets quite a lot of ideas for his songwriting, or at least the lyrics, and that's from his bookshelf. Apparently he quite often, when he's looking for ideas, will pick up a book, he'll open it, and whatever page it lands on, he'll try and get an idea from it. In this instance, he picked up the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and it opened up at chapter 181, and that is what this song is about. A book that everyone owns, I'm sure. I watched quite a lot of interviews with Karl on the build-up to this album, and he really does come across as a very kind-hearted and real nice person with a really good sense of humour. That seems to be a constant with a lot of death metal, as I've noticed. This song is as relentless as you would expect from a song with a title like this, but let me just read you a couple of the lyrics. I will not eat what I detest. What I detest is feces. I will not partake of it. Excrement. I will not consume it. It shall not enter me. It shall not come near my hands, nor my mouth. I mean, fair enough, you know what I mean? Next up on this Napalm Records release, To Strike with Secret secret Fang. And this is another one where the song title fits the song perfectly. This is just 2 minutes in length and is just relentless. This song is a wonderful juxtaposition of tasteful melodic lead lines along with brutal vocals that inform us of the carnage that's about to happen. Fuck you, plain. Then shall our legions reign, our armies descend, as swift as taloned birds of prey, carried by the winds of blood and certain death. Their piteous cries of anguish will seep from their last breath to strike with secret Fang. Fucking brutal. Next up we have Naqada 2, Enter the Golden Age. This song is packed full of everything that makes Nile such a great band in the first place. George's drumming is exceptional as always, and the guitars are fantastic. We've got some really inventive riffing and some melodic lead lines. But the back half of this song is just fantastic. I love the way it slows down and goes into this, dare I say, groovier territory. I really do love when death metal bands get into that slower material. I think it's often the heaviest stuff that they do. This song also includes choral elements which work really well in the song, and we're going to hear more of that throughout the album. Napalm Records. Next up we have the Pentagrammathion of Nephren-Ka. Again, read it right off there, still got it wrong. This is a short instrumental piece played on the flamenco guitar. Beautiful, gives us a bit of a respite for what is to come. Next up we have Overlords of the Black Earth, another frenetic full-on tour de force that once again features a choral section, as does the next song, Under the Curse of the One God. This was the third and final single to be released before the album. The picking speed on this song is just phenomenal. How they play this fast, I will never know, but yeah, this is another one that has incredible musicianship throughout, and the choral section is great on this one. Under the curse of the one God. Another song that introduces some sludgier riffs, and yeah, I've already said I like a lot of the slower stuff with death metal bands, but Nile really do it well. Next up we have Doctrine of Last Things, and speaking of slowing things down, that's exactly what they do on this intro. Plodding riffs backed by double bass accompaniment on the drums, going into some faster sections, and again with more choral input. Fantastic. Next up on this Napalm Records released album, we have the first of two epics, True Gods of the Desert. This one once again starts with a slower, groovier riff, and we get these wonderful melodic lead lines peppered throughout. We've also got a real variation in the vocals on this song. You've got your classic gutturals and high fry screams, but we've also got a real clean section that works surprisingly well. I was very impressed. Another one where the track really lives up to its name. You can really imagine these giants just lumbering through the desert. Fantastic imagery. Next up, Napalm Records gives us the title track itself, The Underworld Awaits Us All. Let's go and sit on this bench. Chill out for a bit, why not? I've got to go for a run in a bit. Yeah, this one clocks in at 8 minutes 36 and offers us much more variety than before. There's a great instrumental section in this that reminds me very much of Slayer's Seasons in the Abyss. Sorry, I was just looking at getting distracted by this wonderful view. Elsewhere we get more tasty lead playing, more choral accompaniment, and some of the slowest, dirgiest, nastiest riffs on the album. You can really hear the pick digging into the strings on some of these songs. This, oh, glorious. And finally, Napalm Records give us Lament for Destruction of Time, the final song on the album. This doom-laden instrumental draws the album to a close in fine cinematic fashion. A wonderful finish to the album. So there we have it. I'm just really chilling back now. I'm pretty much finished. This album really continues the renewed energy that was displayed on Vile Nilotic Rites. This is an absolutely fantastic album. I enjoyed this a lot. It gives old school Nile fans everything that they'd expect from the band, plus a few more surprises thrown in. I was really impressed with the choral accompaniment that was peppered throughout so much of this album. It worked really well. It really did add to the atmosphere and give this album a real cinematic feel. Nile have always been good at conjuring up imagery, but this album was particularly good, I thought. The musicianship, as you would always expect, is top tier throughout. George Callias is absolutely amazing. I've mentioned him so many times throughout this review. Carl Sanders, of course, the mastermind behind everything. He just brings everything together. He truly is he's a bit of a genius, I think, and along with the production that just allows you to hear every detail that's going on. Like I said, there's moments in this where the picking precision is just crazy how they can play that fast. It's just, they really are an exceptionally talented band. Carl and the gang should be incredibly proud of this album, and this one fits very well in an already very impressive discography. And this one gets a very respectable 8 out of 10. And as for where this would sit within the album ranking, let me hand it over to Studio Ben, or Editing Ben, the younger guy actually. Okay, so based on my enjoyment of this album thus far, I'm actually going to put this at the top of B tier. That could well change, could even actually go higher, but I've enjoyed this album a lot. The other ones I've obviously sat with for many years, and I know them like the back of my hand. So, but from what I've heard of this so far, fantastic album. Put it slightly above the previous album, Vile Nihilotic Rites. Back to the idiot in the field. Even though it's in B tier, the standard of quality for Nile albums is so damn consistent right throughout the discography. I think that it sits well there, and I think it could quite easily climb up to A. I was going to say that kind of sounds a bit dirty. If you made it this far, thank you very much. A true thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. It's been fantastic. The response that I've had to this, I genuinely didn't think that anybody would be interested in hearing what I had to say about albums again. So this one's been a bit of a ropey one, getting back into the flow of doing it, but I've enjoyed it, and it's good to be back. I will be back next week with a bunch of Lamb of God videos, Nails, we've got Throne, Ancients. I've got a lot to talk about next week, and then we've got some fun stuff after that. It's going to be a bit more varied. So until the next time, I'll see you next time. I've also got no outro music now, so just yeah, end.